I'd like to call to order the council meeting of August 12th. If the clerk could please read the roll.
Councilmember Dunbar. Councilmember Garza. Councilmember Hussein. Councilmember Jackson. Councilmember Spatafor. Councilmember Spitzley. Councilmember Washington. Councilmember Wood.
Here.
There are 6 members present, a quorum. Councilmembers Garza and Spatafor are absent.
And they do have an excused absence, which we will be taking up at a later time. So we move on into our agenda.
We are to the meditation and pledge of allegiance.
All right, this is an opportunity for meditation. Is there anyone that would like someone remembered at this time? Seeing none, if we could rise for a moment, and then we will say the pledge. Thank you. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
You have for your approval the printed proceedings of July 29th.
Councilmember Spitzley.
Thank you, Madam President. I move for the approval of the minutes for July 29th, 2019.
We have a motion on the minutes. Are there any questions or concerns? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Passes unanimously.
And we are to special ceremonies. We have a tribute memorializing Congress and the federal government to work to mitigate the root causes of people fleeing Central American countries and to work on immigration reform.
Councilmember Washington, and those in the audience that are here for this presentation, if you could come down. Okay, I'll tell you what we will do is move on in the agenda, and then we'll come back to this. Thank you.
All right. We are to comments by council members and the city clerk.
Are there comments by council members? Any comments by council members? Councilmember Jackson.
Thank you. I'd just like to invite everyone to our Fourth Ward Constituent Contact Meeting next Saturday, August 24th at Gregory's. We will be graced by Councilwoman Spitzley's. She's going to host it for us, so I'm excited for that. And again, that's at Gregory's, 2500 North Martin Luther King Boulevard, and that's Saturday the 24th from 10 to 12. Please come and discuss anything City of Lansing and or Fourth Ward related. We're in good hands with our Councilwoman at large.
Okay. Are there other council member comments? Councilmember Dunbar.
Thank you. It is at the peak of produce season right now, so I'm going to mention the South Lansing Farmers Market is every Thursday at St. Casimir. I'm waiting to see your wife.
She'll be there.
Okay, good. This week, it is. Everything that you could possibly want is in season right now. And it's Pet Day. So we have animal adoptions, and we welcome everybody to bring your pets. We have always been surprised by the diversity of pets that show up. We think cats and dogs, we'd get so much more. So bring them. We have water, we have treats, we have vendors for animals and humans and food, and it is at St. Casimir Church, 800 West Barnes, Thursdays from 3 to 7. Thanks.
Okay, are there other council member comments at this time? I would just like to thank Councilmember Garza for allowing me to sit in for his second contact on Saturday. We had a nice turnout and were able to discuss a number of items, and so that was pleasurable. That was at the Miller Road Fire Station, and his contacts are always the second Saturday from 1 to 3. So if you missed this Saturday's, then we look forward to you in September. Are there any other comments? Seeing none, Mr. Clerk.
Thank you, President Wood. I do want to take a moment and thank everyone who voted in our election that we had last Tuesday. We had about 11.5% turnout, which is better than we had 4 years ago. So I think the Proposal 3 that was adopted by the voters in 2018 did make a difference. We had more people voting by absentee ballots last Tuesday than voted in the entire election, the similar August primary 4 years ago. So I'm encouraged by that. I also want to highlight that we did make an effort for those voting in person to encourage the use of our touch screen voting system, which is specifically designed to help voters with disabilities, but all voters can use it. It does print out a paper ballot, so it's still recountable, still goes into the same tabulator as everyone else. And we wanted to make sure that our election workers primarily were comfortable with it, so that when a voter who does need to use it, they understand how it works and we're more comfortable with it. So I had a little contest for my election workers, and I want to congratulate the precincts, precinct 36, and I think it was, Brian, do you remember the other precinct?
One was Luton?
No, it wasn't Luton. It was Letts.
Lex?
Yeah, so anyway, congratulations to those. And I especially want to thank Michigan Protection and Advocacy Services. They sent people to each and every one of our election worker trainings to help my election workers understand the importance of this equipment and how it assists people with exercising their right to vote a secret ballot, regardless of any disability that an individual may have. So thank you to MPAS for that.
Thank you.
And there's an election coming in November, so please make sure you're registered, and if you want to vote absentee, sign up for an absentee ballot. If you got an absentee ballot for August, you're probably already signed up for November, so a lot of folks are going to be already all set, and more information to come about that in the future. And with that, we are to community event announcements. Is there anyone in the audience with a community event?
This Sunday in the Fratcher Memorial Garden at Mount Hope Cemetery, the Friends of Lansing's Historic Cemeteries and the Parks and Recreation Department are co-hosting a third annual Service of Remembrance, and this is to honor the memories of any of the families, the loved ones who passed away in 2018 and were buried or interred at any of the 3 city cemeteries, Evergreen or Mount Hope or North. It's a free event, it's open to the public, it's handicap accessible, light refreshments to follow, and we hope to see you all there. Also, the following weekend, on Sunday, August 25th at 3 p.m. in Mount Hope Cemetery, we will be dedicating the 60 new markers at the Boys Training School site. And this is quite a momentous occasion, a process that's taken better than 20 years to come to fruition. So again, you're all invited. We hope to see you there Sunday, August 25th, 3 o'clock, Boys Training School site, Mount Hope Cemetery. Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Thank you. Are there other community events? All right, seeing none, we're to registration for public comment on legislative matters. That's the blue form in the back. We're picking that up in just a couple of seconds. So if you want to speak about any items listed on the consent agenda, resolutions for action, ordinances for introduction or passage, please jump up right now. Otherwise, we'll be picking that up. And with that, we are to the mayor's comments.
And before we turn to the mayor, we do know, I do see some new faces in the audience. Again, if you want to speak on an item that's on the agenda, you would sign up on the blue sheet. If you want to talk on other city matters, you would sign up on the yellow sheet. And that will be, we will take that up at the end of the council meeting. Okay, with that, Mayor Shore.
All right, thank you. We have a few events coming up that we want the community to know about. First, we have our Meet the Chief events. We have a new police chief coming in, and we want to give the public a chance to meet. Right now, acting Chief Green. I hope to be permanent Chief Green. So we'll be doing an event Tuesday, tomorrow, the 13th, from 6 to 8 at Cristo Rey Community Center, and on Thursday, Thursday the 15th, this coming Thursday, from 6 to 8 at St. Michael's Episcopal Church. Again, both of them 6 to 8. We'll also be doing our mobile food pantry on Saturday, August 17th at St. Gerard, and we'll be doing our annual Connect for Kids, which will be Monday, August 19th at the Lansing Center, and we give out lots of great information and tools and things for those of need at both of those events. Thank you.
And those that were able to turn out for the mayor's community talk on violence, I want to commend you. I thought we had a really good turnout, and there were a lot of great suggestions, and we appreciate that opportunity to interact with the public. Mr.
Thank you. Actually, it's a good reminder, so thank you. I agree with our council president. I appreciate everybody who was there. I also want to thank everybody, and I know everyone in this room, part of the neighborhood night out on Tuesday. We had neighborhood nights out all over the city and barbecues, and I think I ate like 4 hot dogs.
Yes.
But it was great to see so many people out interacting with their government officials, their police, and their fire. So thank you for everybody who participated in both those events. I agree 100%.
All right, thank you. With that, I believe
We
our.
are to
special-
public comment. Are we ready for the special ceremony?
We are ready for our special ceremony. So at this time, those are here for the special ceremony. If you'd come down in front, and we will just move the mic in the center for you.
Is it? Okay, good.
Yep, it's live. You're good.
Documentation is crucial.
I'm on photo duty.
Documentation is crucial. Absolutely.
Thank you, Madam
Councilmember
President.
Washington.
What we have before us is a resolution regarding a rally that these folks put together, and it was called the Lights of Liberty, a vigil to end human concentration camps. It was held on July 12th. I was invited to attend. I strongly invited to attend, and I am so happy I didn't miss it. In so many ways, we are losing our humanity with the way we treat one another every single day. Social media is vicious, and this is spreading, and we need to understand that the folks that are at our border, they are from Central America, they are from Mexico, Cameroon, Haiti, they are from all over the world, and they're being used as political pawns. These are not political pawns, these are human beings that deserve dignity and respect and a measure of safety, regardless of how you feel about whether or not they should be in this country or their immigration status. We have to remember they are our fellow human beings. So we were called at the rally to actually take action. You know, everybody wants to show up at a rally and take a selfie and stick it on Facebook, and frankly, it's meaningless. But we were called to action by this group, and I came back and I felt it was really incredibly important that we, as a city council, take action. And every one of my colleagues was in favor of this, so we went forward, and what it is this. Whereas the Lansing City Council considers human rights an inalienable fundamental right inherent in all human beings, and whereas all sovereign states must comply with all relevant international human rights obligations, whereas there is an influx of individuals and families at the Mexican-U.S. border that have become an international humanitarian crisis in need of resolution, and whereas thousands are fleeing their home countries because they are in jeopardy of losing their lives and their families due to gangs, human trafficking, persecution, and violence. Whereas there have been numerous violations documented regarding violations and abuses against migrants and refugees in transit. Whereas there is proof that children are being separated from their families, in many cases with no clear documentation to help track the children's whereabouts. Whereas reports are coming regarding appalling conditions in which migrants and refugees are being held in U.S. immigration detention centers that are lacking adequate health care, food, and proper sanitation. Whereas the detention waits are lengthy, arbitrary, and inefficient. Now therefore be it resolved, the Lansing City Council calls on our federal U.S. government to immediately end all family separation. And now therefore it be resolved that the Lansing City Council calls on our federal U.S. government to ensure all migrants and refugees have access to basic rights, such as water, food, health services, and safe shelter. And now therefore be it resolved that the Lansing City Council calls on our federal U.S. government to work with other nations to mitigate the root causes in Central American countries that are causing their citizens to flee for safety. And now therefore it be resolved that the Lansing City Council calls on our federal U.S. government to immediately work on immigration reform. Be it further resolved that the Lansing City Clerk forward this resolution onto the Michigan legislative delegations upon adoption. And we felt it was important as a body to make a stand and to call on our federal officials to deal with immigration. We've been talking about it for decades, and nobody's done anything. It's time to quit talking. People are suffering. So with that,
We
I
have a
would move the
motion.
I would move the resolution.
All right, we have a motion to move the resolution. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Passes unanimously.
Thank you. I would like to take a minute. And I would like you all to speak about what caused you to join the National Liberty of Lights and tell us a little bit about your efforts. Thank you.
I think Kathy's waiting to, you've got to get there where they get the. Okay.
I'd like to first thank you very much. This is an important American issue. It is not a Republican, Democrat, or Latino issue. It is an American issue that has been going on for decades that needs to be, it could be resolved tomorrow, actually, if it wanted to be resolved. But today I have Maria Starr Van Cor, who represents LACLA, and she's going to speak a few words about that. And then we have Ethan Schmidt, who's going to speak a few words, and then I will conclude with a few words.
Thank you, City Council representatives. I greatly appreciate for your recognition. We are here today. I thank everybody that came out to the vigil. We talked a lot. We said our words. We feel strongly of how they're abusing the kids, that should never happen. We also feel that they should not keep the members who want to be asylumed or have a refugee. We have other things, issues that we need to address, and of course, yes, immigration is one of them. In my heart, I feel that we're letting those people down. In my heart, that we are better people. We are the best in America, that we can care about one another. And this is not us, the way they're treating the people at the border. I know they have issues over there, and I know it's hard and it's so overwhelming, but things gotta move on a positive direction. So I thank you, everybody that's been here, and I thank everybody in the city of Lansing and Lansing area who came out and heard us speak and have our voices heard, because we're being their voices too. Thank you.
Thank you.
I would just like to mention that, so in my entire life, I have moved around. I've lived in 6 different states, at least 10 different cities, and it was a complete accident that I ended up in Lansing. And one of the things that I found right away being here was how for the first time it felt like a home, and how much it felt like this was a place. This was the first time in my life I ever imagined buying something that would keep me staying here. And part of the reason for that is because of the great work that I get to do with the community members, like the two standing behind me, and like the city council all here as well. It can be a really tough time during these tragedies when we kind of lose sight of who we are in a way. Something that a lot of us have felt proud our whole lives, and all of a sudden it can be more challenging. And it is amazing that during the toughest times, during the biggest challenges, during the worst tragedies, you can look around and you can see who are the people who are there, who are the people who are taking action, and who are the people who really do make a difference. And I think we're all very blessed to be here in Lansing, where immediately you see the community members that are here who have been here for years and years. And while I've only been here for a couple years myself, this experience has taught me that I need to be here for several more. So thank you very much to everyone who's here. Thank you for the resolution, and I hope that we all continue to take action and show that this is not who we are as a community, and show our true stripes as a city. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, City Council. Thank you, Jody. I know each and every one of you because I work with each and one of you for different reasons. I'd like to thank the committee. They're not all here. Oscar Castañeda couldn't be here tonight, but he's another major player in immigration reform. All that we ask today is that our country, called the United States of America, was built on the back of immigration and immigrants. The majority of those who call themselves Americans today, their ancestors came from someplace else. Let me remind you that part of this country was once called Mexico. Texas, Texas, Colorado, California, Nuevo Mexico, and so on was part of Mexico. So we are not invading. We've always been here. Thank you very much.
Thank you. You're welcome.
Thank you, everybody. You know what?
Oh, you're welcome, darling. Good to see you again.
Good to see you too. Thank you.
This year. Thank you.
You're welcome. You're not gonna stand for Maria?
I said I thought I was tall, that's I couldn't stay down there.
Thank you, dear. Okay.
Okay, we are to public comment on legislative matters. There are no public hearings, so people can speak on resolutions that are listed under the consent agenda or resolutions for action, as well as the ordinances for introduction or ordinances for passage. And our first speaker is Brian Leffler, followed by Bob Van Arkel.
Good evening, Brian Leffler, 1521 Cambridge.
Can I get you to wait just a second? City TV, the mic on the podium does not seem to be. All right, let's try it again.
Hello?
No, we're still not getting anything. City TV? We're having trouble with the mic on the podium, not being able to hear that. Could you double check it? Thank you.
1, 2, 1, 2, test, test.
Okay. All right, you got to get on top of it.
Speak louder, I guess.
There, Brian.
All right, thank you very much. Brian Leffler, 1521 Cambridge, co-chair of the financial health team. Notice on your agenda, essentially the amendment to Chapter 288 to provide minimum qualification for the Chief Strategy Officer. just as part of the members of the FHT, just want to again thank what has happened really since May of what's progressed. And again, just that we are here to help serve the city as the entire FHT. So again, thank you very much for continuing to move this forward.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we have Bob Van Arkel and then Loretta Stanaway. Okay, Bob passes, Loretta Stanaway, and then Jack Jordan.
I am assuming that 700 May Street is the old LPD precinct, is that correct? Can someone answer yes or no? Okay. I would oppose issuing an Oprah for this property. There is no reason that these property owners, developers shouldn't have maintained that facility as they went along. It's my understanding part of the reason that LPD left was because the building was falling apart around the officers' feet. It's time for us to quit bailing out property owners and developers who don't take care of the properties and reinvest in them and then come back to us and say they need an Oprah. I just say no. On the Malcolm X, the rezoning of 213 West Malcolm X, I support that. That's the Cooley Hayes house, and I know that Joe Vitale has great plans for that property that will be a benefit both to the house, the city, and himself. So I support that. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next is Jack Jordan, and then Jenny Harwood Schleck.
Good evening. It's nice to see you all. You asked for meditation moments, and I like, before I make my presentation, remember my dad, who passed away yesterday morning in his sleep. He was 88 years old, and I count him as a very great man. So, as it's been stated, my name is Jack Jordan, and I live at 5634 Joshua Street, and I'm commenting on 5624 Joshua, which is up for make safe or demolish. My family and I have lived at our property since '94, and at no time has this property ever been up to code. And it should have been demolished a long time ago. A year ago, it was red tagged, and there was little work done, but they put a tarp up, a blue tarp, and that stayed up for, I would say approximately 9 months throughout the winter, elements going through the house. Nothing was done. Recently, the neighbor who owns the house, at least the gentleman, Virgil Nellis, passed away on May 29th. After he passed away, his wife, who is disabled, she is in a rehabilitation center because she is disabled. And she called me to indicate that she needed help. I am a lawyer, but I am not representing her. But I am here representing the neighborhood, and I indicated to her that I would be saying this, that this house should go down. It should be demolished. It was voted and passed out of Public Safety Committee 2-0, and I know that the taxpayer record, because it was owned or purchased on a land contract, has made a lot of, they're doing a lot of construction out there. They pull permits, but the thing is, the owner has not given them permission to do what they're doing. And that's pretty much all I want to say, but I think the way this property has been dealt with because of the previous owner is shameful, really, because he has abused the people who live there now or own the property now. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next is Jenny Harwood Schlack, and then Mary Reynolds. Mary Reynolds?
Are you the person that was supposed to? Well, last week I was taken off and I had to stay home for quite a while. And in staying home, I got a lot of phone calls. I read a lot of paper, watched a lot of TV. And what you folks, that thing you did Thursday night, the gun thing, I don't think you realize how many people it touched between the ages. The youngest phone call I got was age 15, the oldest was 23. And I think that was a good age to touch. And so I'm just really glad my city went ahead and did that. And I want to thank all of you in council that was responsible for it. And you too, Mr. Mayor. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. That was our last speaker, so we are to the consent agenda.
Sir, did you sign up on the blue sheet?
Sir, are you wishing to speak on something that's on the agenda? Something that the council is acting on tonight? Frank, can you go back?
Yeah.
Can you go back there and help?
Oh, on Joshua Street? Okay,
Hey, Mr. Garland?
please come to the, and if you could give us your name for the record, please.
Yes, my name is Malik Balla, M-A-L-I-K, B-A-L-L-A. And I would like to say, as or the neighbor or the lawyer said earlier, yeah, the situation was terrible. And I had this 2 years ago, actually, the ownership. And we are now working on the house with the Office of Compliance. And there, actually, the owner who passed away, unfortunately, have had a permit, but because of his health and his ability, he didn't go on, and then the permit was canceled. Later, I personally hired another inspector, David Benson, who has a permit for the structure, and I have Leonard Jones for the plumbing, as well as another one for the electricity. His name is James. And all of them got electricities from the office that follow the compliance, and all those 3 permits were inspected and passed, and we are in the process of building the house rather than demolishing it right now with the supervision of the Office of Compliances. And the last thing was done the other day. They inspect the structures, and they said, okay, go away, do the siding and the roofing. And this is the situation, and I have pictures here if you guys want to see. Yeah, there was actually inability of the owner to take care of the house because of his health and lack of money, and he doesn't even pay anything on that land contract for the last year until he passed away. But the building now is under construction and under the surveillance of the Office of Compliances. And if the Office of Compliances say it has to be demolished, I will be the first one to say yes. But I don't want it to be demolished because there are some good speakers who can speak and take the law aside. That one is under the compliances house, and it will be get back very soon among the beautiful houses that are there. Thank you very much.
Thank you. This will be addressed under the Public Safety Committee, and I will, at that time, talk about some of the issues that were just brought up by the land contract owner at that time. So we can move on with our agenda.
Okay. That was our final speaker, so we are to the consent agenda.
Councilmember Spitzley.
To the consent agenda, is that
Right.
correct? Okay, so we're taking off 1A. Are we keeping 1B?
We can go ahead and disperse with that one. You
Okay,
can.
so then everything else will stay on the consent agenda, 2A, B, C, D, 3A, B, C, D, E, and 4A.
And the consent agenda consists of the tribute to
Yes.
Mount Calvary Baptist
Baptist
Church
Church,
for their
yes.
55th anniversary.
Yes, ma'am.
And with that, we have motion to move the consent agenda. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Oppose. Passes unanimously. That takes us to Development and Planning. And Councilmember Hussein.
So the first two items that are coming out of development and planning, both A and B, pretty exciting. We have a lot of conversations, I think, between respective members of council. There's a lot of conversations between council and our mayor, and there's a myriad of conversations taking place out in the community. How do we promote economic development outside of downtown? How do we reverse deterioration, along our commercial corridors and our commercial districts outside of downtown? And I really, really appreciate my colleagues on council, this particular administration. I think these folks up here get after it. We are now supporting a small business facade grant program to the tune of $165,000 a year. That actually grew from $15,000 its first year to $150,000 and now $165,000. We supported the funding for and the creation of a commercial corridor inspector to traverse our corridors and get after some of the broken glass code compliance issues that are referenced by so many. We have increased our contract with LEAP to provide for a corridor specialist of sorts. We have, respective members of this council have started business associations throughout the city, and many of us are voting members as part of some of those business associations. The two items before you, I think, provide a unique opportunity for us to utilize some tools that are provided for by state statute, and that is the creation of corridor improvement authorities. And then later on, hopefully empowering these corridor improvement authorities with what is called tax increment financing authority. With that being said, we actually have a few representatives from the Lansing Economic Area Partnership that will be presenting on these two items collectively. We will actually move the public hearings respectively for these two corridors, North Grand River and South MLK. But I'm going to invite, and then I'll let them introduce themselves, but invite the individuals from the Lansing Economic Area Partnership that will be presenting on this. For council members, you guys can come on down to the well. For council members, you do have a presentation. They will be working their way through this presentation. It is in your supporting materials document. And then City TV has been given the presentation as well so that the folks in the gallery and at home can follow along as well.
And just make sure that the green light is on during your presentation or whoever is speaking at that time. So if you would introduce yourselves. And again, council members, this is in your red folder in front of you. Thank you.
I'm Hannah Bryant from Lansing Economic Area Partnership. And I'm Anna Mughal from LEAP, Lansing Economic Area.
I'm going to ask you to pull that mic
Sure.
closer to you.
Yeah, my name is Annam, and I'm also with Lansing Economic Area Partnership, the corridor person for Lansing. And there you go. So I'm just going to be doing a quick little overview of exactly what a corridor improvement authority is and how these two corridors can really benefit from using a CIA for these corridors. And I think it's really important to first note that Lansing City's master plan really emphasizes on transforming these corridors in Lansing and just really trying to improve them. So really by creating these corridor improvement authorities, we really can actually make this vision happen. So just an overview of exactly how a CIA could be put to use on these corridors. It'll actually be able to advocate for these corridors and actually make improvements to South MLK and North Grand River. And it's really designed to actually start stimulate reinvesting, redevelopment, and just be able to revitalize these corridors. And over time, potentially, we'll be able to start capturing the increase in commercial property taxes. And with that said, it's not increasing your taxes or creating a new tax. So that is actually called a TIF, which Councilmember Hussein mentioned. So this is actually just taking the assessed values in the district and the increase over time. The CIA will actually be able to capture that and use it towards public improvements. And that's kind of recycling right back into the same corridor. You're taking those, that increase in commercial property taxes. So it's just reinvesting right into the same corridor. As more investing happens, it's gonna spur more development and so forth. So this next slide is actually just showing exactly the steps of establishing the CIA. So we're on the first part, just kind of getting approval of the boundaries and then the actual CIAs for both of the corridors. So then once it's actually established, we'll then be able to appoint members to the board, and that will actually help us start developing the, or create the development and tax increment financing plan, which will then have to go through the process again. So our very first step, though, before we came here today was the exploratory committee meetings. We actually engaged taxing jurisdictions, government entities, different neighborhood associations, small business owners, and even larger companies on both of the corridors. And we have a few that will speak in a minute. So it was really just to determine the feasibility of actually putting it to use for each of these corridors. And this next slide is just kind of what we presented at our meetings and how we started spurring conversations, what type of project-specific goals we would like to see on each of these corridors. And these were just the main topics we really discussed. And that leads us to our North Grand River CIA boundaries. So this is on the north, you can actually see the airport, and it goes all the way from Waverly Road, and it will actually lead all the way down to right about Old Town, which several different branches off of it. And with that said, if we could have. Yeah, so let me introduce, these are our community stakeholders that we worked with. They're also on our exploratory committees for South MLK and North Grand River. Bob Van Arkel, he's an investor and a resident on North Grand River, and he's gonna be sharing the goals that we have identified working with them for North Grand River.
Thank you for the opportunity. This North Grand River corridor is, I believe, the artery to Lansing. We got the capital city here, and we got the airport, and we have a lot of people coming in and out of that airport going to our city to see what kind of city we have. And that is an area that I just feel needs a lot of work. It's been, you can see Peckham and the airport has put money into that area, trying to make it more vibrant, but I feel like there's more that needs to be done. I have talked to a few people that have went to the Lansing airport, and they were kind of surprised after they left the boulevard of the airport that it was kind of depressing and there wasn't much there. They were kind of surprised. So I'm glad to have the opportunity to be here and speak on the behalf of the committee. We're looking forward to getting this passed and moving on and making this artery to Lansing more vibrant.
Thank you.
So that was North Grand River. I'll just move on to South MLK then, just briefly. And this is the boundary that for South MLK, and it goes from I-96 all the way north up to the railroad tracks and right about south of Victor Avenue. And then we'll have, I don't know if you want to do this.
So our South MLK representative is Jeffrey Johnson, the famous owner of Bacon Cakes. And he's also a member of our exploratory committee for South MLK. And please share your feedback. Yeah.
Thank you very much for your time. We were involved in a facade improvement grant on our donut shop in the south end. And I've noticed after we've been there seems to be a lot of safety issues with the traveling of the cars up and down. I think some crosswalks are needed, lighting, things like that. There's a lot of empty buildings there. We need to get that place going and vibrant. It's a major thoroughfare into town, M99, and from the highway. It's got a lot of depressed areas. I think it could use some pocket parks and more walkability and such. So, thank you very much.
Thank you.
So those are both of the corridors, South MLK and North Grand River. And this next slide is just kind of labeling out our next steps. Having this established, being able to appoint the members, completing visioning studies for each of these corridors, just to kind of get a more feel of exactly what's needed, the goals of each of them. And then this will actually help us create the development and TIF plan to have that move forward.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Councilmember Hussein.
I do have one question. So what we're looking at doing tonight is setting a public hearing for both the North Grand River and the South MLK Corridor Improvement Authorities in terms of the intent for September 23rd. My understanding is that in terms of public notice, we need to notice the public no less than 20 days before that public hearing, and it needs to be published twice. Is there a reason that we're waiting so long? When we look at the calendar, September 9th makes a lot of sense for me, but maybe there's some reason why we're doing September 23rd.
It's actually 20 to 40 days in between that we have to actually publish both of those. It's in that range.
Okay, so but we could, we actually took this up in development and planning today. Councilman, sorry, go ahead.
Councilmember Hussein, I believe that the city attorney's office had talked to LEAP, and they felt that this timeline was appropriate. So, Mr. City Attorney.
Those improvement authorities have a certain timeline. It's usually 2 notices on the first go-around. And so I talked to LEAP to make sure we're following the guidelines. So there's a minimum and a maximum. It has to be within that time frame, and it has to be published. But I have conferred with LEAP on that.
Okay, so if this is the timeline that LEAP is comfortable with, we're okay with that. I had received the question from a few people, though, so I wanted to make sure that I asked. Okay, thank you. So with that being said, I would move the resolution to set a public hearing in consideration of the intent to create North Grand River Avenue Corridor Improvement Authority, and that public hearing would be held on September 23rd.
All right, we have a motion. Are there any questions or concerns? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Passes unanimously. Councilmember Hussein.
I would move the setting of a public hearing in consideration of the creation of a South Martin Luther King Jr. Boulevard Corridor Improvement Authority, and again, that public hearing would be on September 23rd.
We have a motion before us. Are there any questions or concerns? The 23rd. Are there any other questions or concerns of September? Thank you.
Are you having both hearings on the same night?
Mary, we usually don't take, thank you. And we do have multiple hearings sometimes on the same night. So all those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Passes unanimously. Councilmember Washington.
I just want to make a very quick comment. I'm really excited about the corridor improvement authorities because we've known for a very long time that our major corridors are in trouble and they do not tell the story of what is behind those corridors. We had this discussion in DMP. You know, behind North Grand River, there are some really nice neighborhoods. We have the Tecumseh River Drive. We have so many nice things. But when we have business people having folks fly into our airport and they take them the back way because they don't want them to see what comes out of on North Grand River, we have a problem. And the same holds true for the south side. Wonderful neighborhoods behind South MLK, and it gets a really bad perception because of the corridor. And we've had a lot of really good things happen with the Michigan Avenue corridor improvement. So I'm really happy that we have an opportunity to move these forward.
Mayor Shore.
Thank you, Madam President. I know I don't usually weigh in, but Councilwoman Washington reminded me, it's for your viewing public, it's important to know that these are our third and fourth corridor improvement authorities. Michigan Avenue is getting up and running. We kind of give a little more oomph into that one when we came on board, and Anum was key in that, as well as the Saginaw corridor, which again, Anum was very instrumental in. And I can't say enough about the two women sitting at the table here. Anum took it on for the first year and really reinvigorated the program, and Hannah is going to take it to the next level. So these two really are our corridor specialists and have been just a tremendous asset to the city of Lansing. I know Carl Dorsmer is out in the audience, and I want to give a shout out, but these two women sitting in front of us here have been fantastic. And I want to add to what Jeffrey said. This is not standalone. This is in conjunction with what we're doing with facade. So you've got Bacon Cakes, which already received the facade, and the Grand River Corridor. We've got Paisanos, which we're going to see reinvigorated very soon. We have many programs in the upcoming in the docket. As Councilman said, we've got our corridor inspectors. So there's just a lot of activity going on. There's a bigger picture, but I do want to thank the two women sitting in front of us because we're really taking this head on together. Thank you.
Thank you. With that, we want to thank you. We move on to our next item. Councilmember Hussein.
As I introduce, or I should say before I introduce this, I want to invite Mr. Carl Dorsmer from the LEDC down, and then any representatives from the applicant that want to come down into the well and speak on Brownfield Plan number 76. This is officially the Farnham Building Redevelopment Project. This deals with a 10-story building on Allegan Street, just across from the Bogie Tower. It has been vacant since 2016 when the Senate vacated that building, and we have some folks that have purchased and are looking to redevelop that into Class A office space. And so we have a team of individuals here tonight to talk about the development, to talk about the Brownfield Plan, eligible activities, period of tax capture, and the like. So we'll start with Carl.
Carl.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Thank you, Councilmember Hussein. This is Brownfield Plan number 76, and it's the Farnham Building, which is approximately a block south of here. It's a 10-story building, 90,000 square feet, former home of the Senate. It has beautiful views of the Capitol. It has great potential, but one big issue is it has a lot of asbestos and other brownfield-related activities that have to be performed before it can be redeveloped. It's been vacant for about 5 years. The Bogie Group is the developer, and they've come to us, the Brownfield Authority, and they've asked for help with dealing with those environmental conditions. So we helped them put together a Brownfield plan, and they'll give you the details of both the project and the plan. So I'll fill in any gaps, but I don't want to steal their thunder, so let me introduce to you. We have Terry Fitzpatrick of the Bogie Group, the developer, and then also Jessica DeBone, who's with PM Environmental. So ladies.
Thank you, and thank you very much for allowing us to be here tonight. Carl talked a little bit about the Farnham Building.
Can I stop you just real quick? I'm sorry. For council members, the presentation is in your supporting materials folder, and then again, City TV does have this as well. I'm so sorry.
No, it's okay. Do you want me to start now, or?
Yep.
Okay.
Yes, please.
So Carl talked a little bit about the building, and probably most of you are very familiar with its location. The one thing that he didn't mention is that it's connected to the Bogie Tower by an underground tunnel, because they were both initially, built and owned by the same owner. So we are very excited to be doing this project right outside our front door. A little bit about Bogie Group, for those of you who don't know, we're a real estate development, you need to move this. Someone needs to move the slide, I guess.
There.
We're a real estate development, property management, and construction management firm. We have about 2 million square feet of space that we own, manage, or have developed, and about 300,000 of that is in Lansing CBD. And in those buildings, we have over 700 people work in those buildings. While we specialize in public-private partnerships, we have a very diverse property portfolio that includes warehouses and retail, multi-story, high-rise office buildings, and we're currently working on some multifamily projects. Our partners in P3, we have partnered with local municipalities, the state of Michigan, and higher education. And last year, we celebrated our 20th anniversary, and in the last 5 years in Lansing, we have grown our workforce from 8 people to 28 people. So we've had tremendous growth within our company in Lansing in just the last few years. This next slide just shows a couple of the recent projects that we've completed. One is the Spring Hill Suites by Marriott in East Lansing, and a small strip center right off of Trowbridge Road. And another is a very large public-private partnership we're doing with the city of Royal Oak right now, which includes a municipal building, a police station, a public parking deck, and a 6-story, 140,000 square foot office building for Henry Ford Health Systems. This next slide just shows the proximity of the Farnham building to the other state and local office buildings, which again, everyone here is probably very familiar with. Our project summary includes interior demolition of the current office building, extensive abatement activities, new utilities, new HVAC, roof enhancement, roof replacement, fireproofing. All of these systems improvements that we're doing to the buildings have sustainability features incorporated into them, which includes LED lighting, new energy management system, new cooling tower with high energy efficient drive, low flow toilets and faucets, and solar roller window blinds. We're also adding sidewalks will be improved, public lighting will be added. It's an estimated $20 million project, and we also are pursuing historic preservation credits. The next slides show some proposed renderings of the views of the building. This first one is a conceptual view from one of the higher floors looking out at the Capitol. This next one is a lobby view, and the last is from the exterior. Again, because we're pursuing historical tax credits, there will be very little change to the look of the building. Our project schedule is we acquired this building this year. The state of Michigan, the Senate vacated it in December of 2016, so it's been vacant since then, and then the state of Michigan sold it through competitive bid in 2018. We do have a tenant secured for the 10th and much of the 9th floor, and we are to deliver it to them by September of next year, and so our abatement and demolition, in order to meet that schedule, has to be completed by next April, and then we will complete the building near the end of this year, going into January of '21. Jessica will give you a brownfield summary.
The property has been determined to be functionally obsolete. The primary reasons behind that is the age and the previous use of the building. Essentially, with use for the Senate, there are a lot of spaces within the building that wouldn't make it really viable for an office or a new office like tenant user to just slide right in. The current heat system is currently ineffective, and as Carl and Terry both mentioned, there's quite a bit of asbestos abatement throughout the building that must be handled before it can be utilized and improved. Eligible expenses that are considered within the brownfield plan include pre-approved activities, so that's really your hazardous materials survey, as well as Phase 1 environmental site assessment, just to make sure there weren't any other concerns associated with the property. Demolition, the big ticket item, the asbestos abatement, which primarily is caused by various pipe wrap throughout the building, mastic, floor tile, and then the largest piece of that being around 70,000 square feet of spray-on fireproofing throughout the property. It also includes preparation of the brownfield plan and a 15% contingency. The brownfield plan includes a percentage of capture for the LBRF, totaling approximately $125,000, the local brownfield fund, as well as the administrative fee capture totaling also $125,000. The state brownfield fund will capture additional $170,000 throughout the length of the plan, which is estimated to be 21 years. There's also a 10% 10% pass-through on this project that's contemplated or proposed within the brownfield plan. And really what that's going to allow is just for the existing tax increment financing authority that the property sits within to see an increase in tax revenue as the project immediately kicks off, essentially. The property currently does not receive any tax revenue as it stands. So without this development, that's revenue that would not be seen either way. As Terry mentioned, we're estimating a $20 million investment. We're obviously putting back to use a functionally obsolete building and bringing new taxes to the tax roll. We're also estimating that in total, there would be office space for around 200 permanent jobs on the property. And around $78,000 is estimated to increase in city property tax revenue annually throughout the life of the plan, with 10% going to the tax increment financing authority, as mentioned through that pass-through. And then as we were developing the eligible activities, one of the pieces that we considered was interest, which would be eligible as part of the capture and eligible activities for the plan, totaling almost $2 million. However, it was determined that the project could be viable without that, so we took that away from what our request includes, although it would have been eligible. Anything to add?
No, that's it. I don't think anyone mentioned the total amount.
Any other comments? Seeing none, are there any questions? I have a couple of questions for you. First of all, you have indicated that this is an obsolete property, but what we're looking at is a brownfield. Were you looking at also applying for an obsolete property?
No.
Okay, that answers that one. Second is, you had talked about the energy efficiencies and the things you're looking at. Are you going to do a LEED?
We are not pursuing LEED certification, but we are building with LEED intent.
Okay. Next would be, this plan is for 21 years, and I guess my only concern would be the intent of the Boji Group to keep the building after the brownfield was paid off. The idea of it becoming a state office building and going off the tax rolls. What is the intent of the Boji Group?
Well, it is not our intent to sell the building, but it has been addressed in the development agreement. I don't know if Carl or someone wants to discuss that.
Yeah, I could, in the development agreement through negotiation with the administration, if they sell the property to any part or all of the property to a tax-exempt entity before the brownfield plan ends, then they have to pay all the money back that they were reimbursed. And then if they sell it within a 10-year period after the plan is ended in any one of those years, then they owe the TIFA $1 million.
Okay, thank you. Then my last question, which I always ask if it hasn't been addressed, has to do with, have you signed an agreement dealing with local labor? Carl.
In the development agreement, we have language in there, and it's very consistent with what was previously approved for other brownfield projects.
So it's the
last year,
same.
so very similar.
Okay, can we make sure that we get a copy of that before?
We submitted it through Laserfish. I'm not sure if it's in your packet or not, but we can get it to you.
Okay, if you would please get that to us before the public hearing. Okay, with that, Councilmember Hussein, would you like to make a motion?
Sure. I would move the resolution to set a public hearing. The date would be August 26th, in consideration of Brownfield Plan number 76, Farnham Building Redevelopment Project at 123 West Allegan Street.
All right, we have a motion. Are there any other questions? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Passes unanimously. Thank you very much for coming down. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you. That takes us to General Services. Councilmember Washington. Oh, I'm sorry, we have the obsolete. I absolutely apologize. Councilmember Hussein, you have one more left on your agenda.
This is the last one. We've been through this a number of times, so I'll be brief. This is for the creation of a obsolete Property Rehabilitation Act district. Summit Street Development LLC for property located at 700 May Street. We do have Mr. Stephen Purchase, who is in the gallery on behalf of the applicant, but we do not need to bring him down. He has been incredibly accessible through the process. He has been with us through development and planning's process. He's been with us when we introduced and set the public hearing. He was there for the public hearing. He's here again tonight, so we really appreciate, your diligence, your accessibility. With that being said, this deals with a 1950s era building. And this is one of two buildings on the site. The other building has been used to house police operations and offices and things of that nature. But this building that we're speaking to is functionally obsolete. It's been vacant for decades. Parts have been rehabbed. However, the warehouse portion was never redeveloped. It's not connected to utilities, lacks HVAC, plumbing, fire suppression. There's electrical infrastructure issues. The applicant needs to address stormwater management and drain systems. What they're looking to do is to try to rehab this building and attract a tenant. In order to get to a point where they fully understand the scope of the project and the costs and things of that nature, there is some money they have to put up front. They do not want to jeopardize a obsolete property rehabilitation certificate down the line, and so that is the reason that they are looking to have this district established now. So this will not be our last bite at the apple, so to speak. Again, we are just establishing the district, not the certificate. And so with that being said, I would move the resolution.
Thank you. We have a motion on the resolution, and just for clarification, this is not the police building. This is the other building.
Yes.
Correct. I just there was a comment from the audience, so I just want to make sure that we are aware of that. So with that, are there any other questions? Seeing none, and again, this is the creation of the district, and they would have to come back for a certificate. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Passes unanimously.
We are to the Committee on General Services.
Councilmember Washington.
Thank you, Madam President. The first thing we have before us is liquor license, Bar Martini, 2001 East Michigan Avenue, to transfer ownership of an escrow 2018 Class C licensed business with dance entertainment permit from Teeny Bikinis, Lansing LLC. Transfer location from 511 East Hazel Street, and cancel the existing outdoor service and request new Sunday sales permit. And what this is this is a liquor license that is to be transferred to Michigan Avenue. This will be a new Tapa restaurant bar. We asked what the percentage of food to liquor would be, and it was estimated 60-40. This is not going to be an establishment where people will be there to hang out after hours, after the bars close. It is intended, it's where the old Strange Matter coffee was, so it's a small footprint. They intend to keep it a small footprint, and they want it to be more of an intimate place where couples or friends can go and have tapas and wine. So with that, I would move the resolution for the liquor license transfer.
We have a motion on the table. Are there any questions? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Oppose? Passes unanimously. Councilmember Washington.
Thank you, Madam President. The next thing we have before us is a community funding request from Moores Park Neighborhood Organization. They are requesting $500 for their Moores Park Pavilion gathering. They're pretty excited about the new pavilion also. So we did pass this in committee, and I would move the resolution to grant the $500 to Moores Park Pavilion gathering.
We have a motion on the table, and this is to be a transfer to Parks for equipment that they are going to be renting for bounce houses and things like that for the party. So, yes, Councilmember Spitzley.
Thank you, Madam President. And the people who are requesting this, are men making a difference?
No.
No, Moores River Park.
Because the
Morse.
Resolution, is there a new
We handed
resolution?
out,
Okay, thank you. I'm sorry. We got a whole bunch of list ones, all right.
Okay,
Thank you, I'm sorry. Yep,
All right.
okay, I got it. Never mind, thanks.
okay. We have the correct resolution in front of us, and we're ready to vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Pose. Passes unanimously. Councilmember Washington.
Thank you, Madam President. Got a lot of paper here. The next thing we have before us is a claim for 3241 Palmer Street. The property was cited for a trash violation on 2/13/19 with a compliance due date of 2/20/2019. The premise officer rechecked the property on 2/26/19. The violations were still present, and they were submitted to the contractor for removal. The contractor arrived on 2/28/19, and the violations were still present, and they were removed. The claimant stated that she put the bags out in November and knew as of the 1st of December that the bags would not be picked up. She also stated that they did not know it was a violation. However, our code office sent them a notification, and the claimant included the letter in her claim packet. The violation remained for 8 more days after the compliance due date, and the notification clearly stated the city of Lansing will charge $265 for administrative fee. The homeowner did come in, and what we did do was she sought to eliminate a special assessment of $1,021 for yard waste removal and all associated penalties and interest. Upon filing the claim to the Committee of General Services, we granted the claim in the amount of $358, making the new balance owed on the claim at $663. And with that, I would move the resolution to deny that portion of the claim.
And that was the recommendation that had come from claims review. So
Correct.
that's why it was a change in the yardage. So with that, any questions? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, passes unanimously. Councilmember Washington.
Thank you, Madam President. What we have before us now is another claim disposition, 1673, in the amount of $1,709, trash violation fees at 2515 Lynn Lawn. This is a rental property. The actual property owner did come in. It was noted by code compliance that the home was cited for trash on 12/5/18 with a compliance due date of 12/12/18. The officer returned on 12/13, and the violation still remained as noted in the submittal photo. The contractor arrived on 12/17, and the initial notification was sent, and the violations were still present, and they were removed. The claimant came into their office to inquire about the trash invoice and to obtain pictures. The owner had never updated the assessor's office or their office with his correct mailing address, so the notifications were sent to the address on file, which is 2515 Lynn Lawn. The actual property owner did come in. He did state that he was out of the state and that he didn't realize that what was there would be considered trash, as it was a trailer with a lot of trash in it. He sought to have the fee removed, claiming that he wouldn't do it again. So upon filing the claim, we met on August 12th and denied the claim in the amount of $1,709, and I would move the resolution to deny the claim.
We have a motion to deny the claim. Are there any other questions or concerns? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed, passes unanimously. Councilmember Washington.
Thank you, Madam President. The last claim that we have before us is a claim disposition, 1713, for $3,875 in trash violation fees at 130 Island Avenue. This one, the property was cited for a trash violation on April 17th with a due date of April 23rd. The premise officer was contacted by the homeowner on April 23rd and stated that they needed more time, and the extension was granted. The premise officer returned to recheck the property on May 17th. Multiple violations were still present. The code office recommends denial of the claim, as the claimant had 44 days in which either to clean the property themselves or make arrangements to have the debris removed before the contractor arrived. The reason that it is so expensive is because when code removes wood, it has to be loaded, it has to be unloaded, it has to be chipped, and then it has to be put back on the truck, and then it has to be taken to the proper contractor. There was some discussion because it appeared that some neatly stacked firewood had been removed. So the committee did recommend approving some slight decrease. The original claim was $3,875. We granted the claim in the amount of $1,444, leaving the balance owing $2,431. So we reduced it by $1,444 for the neatly stacked wood. So with that, I would move the resolution to deny the claim in the amount of $2,431.
We have a motion. Are there any questions or concerns? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Passes unanimously.
We are to the Committee on Public Safety.
Councilmember Spitzley, I'm going to pass you the gavel first, and I'm going to make a couple statements, and then I will take the gavel back while you make the motion. I wanted to discuss this property on Joshua that is 5624 Joshua. This particular property is in a land contract and is owned by you have the woman's name right here? Is owned, no, by Mary and Virgil Nellos. Are the legal owners, and what is in the owner's registration on the assessor's page. The taxpayer of record is the lien holder for the land contract. This land contract has not gone through foreclosure. This woman still owns this property. There were permits that were pulled by a former employee of the city of Lansing who is doing construction work on behalf of the land contract holder. The owner did not give them permission to pull the building permits. The woman has not signed over the property to back to the land contract holder. So the legal owner before us right now is Ms. Nettles. She is the legal owner of the property. And having code before us, they talked about the fact that permits had been pulled, but there were a number of issues with those permits, and as late as this morning, they were looking at trying to get an imminent danger, immediate demolition done because of the work that's been done to this property, because it's not been up to code in the things that they have torn off on the property. Because that was not followed, they weren't able to get that through to us by tonight. We have before us the motion to do the make safe or demolish. There is still the potential of having it declared an imminent danger in the next couple of days and immediately taken down because of the structural problems that are with this property. So I appreciate the fact that the land contractor came forward and made his comments here. He is not the legal owner of the property at this juncture. With that, I would take back the gavel, and Councilmember Spitzley.
Thank you, Madam President. And with that, just a little bit more about the residents. It is a building value of $39,573. The estimated cost of repairs is $120,960. We had no one show up for public safety. No one also showed up for the public hearing that we had on this property. Okay, all right, and so with that, I move the resolution.
We have a motion on the resolution. Are there any other questions or concerns? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Oppose. Passes unanimously. Madam, could I have that paper for the clerks?
Oh.
He would like the correct spelling. Thank you.
And we are to the Committee on Development and Planning for the 6th vote item.
Councilmember Hussein.
Sure. So this is the consideration of Act 3, 2019, Bear Lake Pathway for a licensing agreement. This would allow for the city to construct a 10-foot wide paved pathway across 7 parcels between Kavanaugh and Forest Road. It would allow the city to enter into property agreements with the property owners, which we would obviously need to construct this. If you recall, we do have a little bit of history with this. This actually did make it through the Act 33 review with the Planning Board. They did unanimously approve with the zoning administrator on their side. It went through the public hearing process. It went back to Development and Planning. We actually pushed it out of Development and Planning, and then it was pulled. And the reason was that there was no, in terms of the resolution, there was no distinction between purchase, easement, license agreement. There were no dollar amounts included. This has not, and it didn't go back to Development and Planning. It was deemed not substantive changes. And so what we're looking at doing tonight is actually approving a process that we started a very long time ago. And I don't know if our city attorney has anything additionally to add to this. But the changes, I do believe, are in the last 5, be it therefore resolved. So there are, let's see, there's language that pertain to, again, the purchase, price, easements, licensing agreement, things of that nature.
Mr. City Attorney, did you have any additional comments?
Nothing further, no.
All right, thank you. Are there any questions for Councilmember Hussein? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Passes unanimously. Mr. Clerk.
We are to ordinances for introduction. We have Councilmember Wood introduced an ordinance of the City of Lansing, Michigan to amend the Lansing Codified Ordinances by amending Chapter 288, Section 288.21 to provide minimum qualifications for a Chief Strategy Officer. The ordinance is read a first time by its title and referred to the Committee of the Whole.
Councilmember Spitzley.
Thank you, Madam President. We talked about this a bit in Committee of the Whole. We've been working on the minimum qualifications for the Chief Strategy Officer. This was a position that was recommended by our financial health team. And so with that, I'll move the ordinance. I'll move the resolution, I'm sorry.
This is the resolution to set the public hearing
The public
for
hearing
August 26th?
Yeah, for August 26th.
All right, we have a motion before us, and unless there's extenuating circumstances that come up, we're looking at passage on the same night in order to be able to make sure that that process continues to move forward. We do know that the mayor's office is very close on finishing up that process. So with that, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Passes unanimously.
Okay, we are to ordinances for passage. From the Committee on Development and Planning, we have an ordinance of the City of Lansing, Michigan, providing for the rezoning of a parcel of real property located in the City of Lansing, Michigan, and for the revision of the district maps adopted by Section 1246.02 of the Code of Ordinances, Z4 2019 213 West Malcolm X Street, rezoning from C Residential District to F Commercial District, is read a second time by its title. The ordinance was reported from the Committee on Development and Planning, is on the order of immediate passage.
Councilmember Hussein.
Okay, there's not a lot to say about this. This has had a ton of oversight. Obviously, this goes back to 2017 when the electorate actually gave us the permission to move forward with the sale of the Cooley Hayes House. The applicant in this case is Joseph Vitale. This body did approve sale to Mr. Joseph Vitale October of 2018, but that was contingent upon a successful rezone. What he would like to do, obviously with the F commercial designation, is to move forward with a store where he will sell salvage building materials. So again, this is the final step for this body in moving this project forward. And so with that being said, I would move Z4 2019.
This is a roll call vote. Mr. Clerk.
We don't have 6.
No, we have 5 to pass. We need 6 for immediate effect.
On adoption of the ordinance, Councilmember Dunbar?
Yes.
Councilmember Garza? Councilmember Hussein? Councilmember Jackson? Councilmember Spitzley?
Yes.
Councilmember Washington?
Yes.
Councilmember Wood?
Yes.
5 yeas, 0 nays, the ordinance is adopted.
What we will do is move to the next one, and hopefully Mr.
We can't do
Councilmember.
immediate effect
Nope.
on zoning.
Oh, that's right. It's 5 days. It has to be after
It's 30
publish.
days.
Yeah,
It's 30
Thank you.
days on zoning.
thank you. So that
Okay.
takes us to,
So we have an ordinance of the City of Lansing providing for the rezoning of a parcel of real property located in the City of Lansing, Michigan, for the revision of the district maps adopted by Section 1246.02 of the Code of Ordinance to change the zoning classification of the properties described as follows. Permanent zoning of newly annexed properties on South Waverly Road and Jolly Road is read a second time by its title. The ordinance was reported from the Committee on Development and Planning and is on the order of immediate passage.
Councilmember Hussein.
This permanent zoning deals with 11 acres of property. It's the northwest corner of Jolly and South Waverly. It's situated over 8 parcels. This used to be Delta Township land. It was annexed into the City of Lansing on January 1st. There was a ballot initiative last year. 61% of the voters in the City of Lansing voted to approve this annexation. Upon receiving, per state statute, we have to give those parcels interim zoning designation. And what happens is our zoning administrator takes a look at the zoning that it was in the township, Delta Township in this case, and then gives the zoning designation that most closely resembles that designation. So the 7 parcels along South Waverly were all given interim zoning of F1 commercial. The residential property on West Jolly was given an interim designation of A residential. What happens then is the planning board, per state statute, has 180 days to look at our master plan, to look at land use in the area, and to consider permanent zoning, and then recommend to this body permanent zoning for those parcels that were annexed into the City of Lansing. In this case, for the 7 parcels along South Waverly, the planning board recommended, I believe it was 4-0, it was unanimous, E2 local shopping permanent zoning designations for those 7 parcels. The rationale was that it complies with our master plan, number 1, and number 2, when you look at current land use, as a matter of fact, the northeast corner of that intersection is all E2 local shopping district as well. If we were to move forward with F commercial, when you look at the dense residential behind these properties, we could have some issues with auto dealerships and bars and motels and things of that nature. And so in terms of E2 local shopping district and the master plan, it really is, the master plan really pushes uses of convenience. And so the E2 local shopping district makes sense. In terms of the parcel, the address is actually, I have it right here, I believe it's 11097 Jolly. The permanent, the recommendation, sorry, for the permanent zoning was A residential. We've had a lot of conversation on this. We have had, our zoning administrator has been into our development and planning committee on a number of occasions to discuss this. She absolutely believes 100% that these are the appropriate permanent zoning designations. There is some indication that we might have some applications for rezones in the future, but we'll cross that bridge when we come to it. So with that being said, I would move the ordinance for permanent zoning of newly annexed properties on South Waverly Road and Jolly Road.
Thank you, Mr. Clerk. That is a roll call.
On adoption of the ordinance, Councilmember Dunbar.
Yes.
Councilmember Hussein. Councilmember Jackson. Councilmember Spitzley.
Yes.
Councilmember Washington. Councilmember Wood.
Yes.
6 yeas, 0 nays, the ordinance is adopted.
All right.
We are to speaker registration for public comment on city government-related matters. That is the yellow sheet in the back. If you still wish to address city council and you haven't signed in, we do need you to sign in the next couple of seconds as we're getting up to grab the sheet. And in the meantime, we are to reports of city officers, boards, and commissions.
Councilmember Spitzley.
Thank you, Madam President. I move that all items be considered as being read in full and that the proper referrals be made by you, Madam President.
We have a motion before us. Are there any questions or concerns? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Passes unanimously.
Okay, we have letters from the city clerk regarding minutes of boards, commissions, and authorities.
Placed on file.
Polling place changes for Ward 3 precincts 28, 29, and 31.
To Committee of a Whole.
Letters from the mayor regarding a grant acceptance, National League of Cities, J.P. Morgan Chase and Company grant for cities addressing fines and fees equitably.
Ways and Means and Internal Auditor.
Local agency pavement warranty program adoption and implementation.
Public Service Committee.
Communications and petitions, a notice from the Liquor Control Commission, Rite Aid of Michigan, Inc., application for a new SDM license with Sunday sales permit at 1004 East Michigan Avenue.
General Services Committee.
And we are to motion of excused absence.
Motion, Councilmember Spitzley for excused absence.
Yep, I move that we have excused absences for both Vice President Spatafor and Councilmember Garza.
We have a motion. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Passes unanimously. Thank you.
We are to remarks by council members.
Are there any closing remarks? Seeing none.
Remarks by the mayor.
Mr. Mayor, any closing remarks? Seeing none.
Public comment then. We have Daniel K. Arnold and then Harold King.
Hello, I'm Daniel K. Arnold and I love this city of Lansing. Last Thursday, the community gathered together at City Hall lobby to come to grips with gun violence on a national and local level. Mental health was addressed repeatedly, and our attitude as a whole is of grave concern to me. President of the United States, Donald Trump, stated, "Mental illness and hatred pulls the trigger." Mayor Andy Shore followed suit and said, "Mental health is a huge problem. We are overwhelmed by mental health." Concerned about our society's response, NAMI Lansing and Community Mental Health Authority of CEI made a joint statement regarding the gun violence. Each time we experience a tragedy like this, people with mental illness are drawn into the conversation. The truth is that the vast majority of violence is not perpetrated by people with mental illness. As a thriving mental health consumer, I believe it is necessary to represent the voice of my peers. I'm under the impression that Mayor Shore's attitude regarding mental health and gun violence stems from the reality of a growing national stigma. When I talked to Mayor Shore face-to-face in City Hall lobby last Thursday, I communicated the need for the consumer voice to be heard. His response was that CMH represents our voice and that we have consumer advisory councils within CMH. I explained that I serve on the councils and that he needs to hear our direct perspective. Mayor Shore seemed indifferent and unwilling to let go of his volatile discrimination of mental health. I thank God that our nation has the Open Meetings Act. I'm allowed to be here and talk to you guys. That Lansing City Council members are accessible like Carol Wood, willing to talk to me and everybody else. That law enforcement is well trained in mental health accommodation. I'm appealing to you, City Council and citizens of the city of Lansing. What can we do to erase stigma? What can we do to bring the voice of mental health to the table in a respectful manner? Can we start a disability advisory council to the mayor's office? Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we have Harold King and then Loretta Stanaway.
King, 1563 North High Street. President Wood, council members, Mayor Shore. I sat on my porch lawn. You see a lot of things going on in your neighborhood you may like. You see a lot of things you don't like. Today was one of those I didn't like. Most families are familiar with a little member about 8, 9 years old that never says no to anybody, sees nothing wrong with anything, and we have a few of those in our neighborhood. This particular little boy, I had seen two adults walking through the neighborhood. Then I saw the little boy on his bike with a dog, little puppy. Across the street was this same couple I'd never seen before today. Things I'd seen in the past, I thought, well, the little fellow's probably trying to sell the puppy to them and get $1 or $2 to go to the store. He's done things like that before. But it wasn't too long before the woman went her direction. The man, the dog, and the little boy started walking towards my house. As they got closer, they were about a block away when this began. They started to cut across between a building. I hollered, not using his name, I said, "Boy, go home." I said, "Boy, go now." I then went to the home because I wanted to talk to the mother. The little boy had a story about lost dog, a telephone number, and who this man was. When the mother came out, the story changed a little bit. The man told him the information of who he was related to. The man told him the dog had a phone number to call. As I'm talking to the mother, and this was a few minutes because we're trying to figure out, was this really what we thought it was, or was it just something that happened? She said, "Is that the man down there in front of your house?" And sure enough, there he is carrying the dog, walking up and down in front of my house. And then he sat at the church. Now, he told this little boy that the owner of the dog was 6 houses north on High Street. That's not where he went. A little later, some people are coming from Cristo Rey Community Center with their food, about 6 people. And this man is carrying the dog behind and with those 6 people. And they go east on North Street. By this time, I had already called 911 because as I thought what I had seen, whether it was right or wrong, somebody should find out if it was the worst scenario or if it was just something that happened. I saw LPD go north because I had last seen him go towards Cristo Rey. Could I have a few more minutes?
Just finish your statement, Harold.
Later on, I saw the man with these people walking with the dog. He went down another street with the woman waiting for him, different than the first woman. He did not have the dog with him. LPD drove by. I had this male in my hand waving him down, and he went on by me. I don't know why in the world that would ever happen when a young boy's life could have been at stake.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we have Loretta Stanaway and then Anthony Garland.
Well, I guess that's a good segue to the comments that I wanted to make. You're going to be looking again soon at budgets. You're going to be looking again soon at the wants and the needs of the city, and it's always falling on you folks in the city administration to define what the needs are versus what the wants are. We have far too many wants not being filled because we're taking too many needs and putting it the other way around. We're getting too many of the things we don't need and not enough of the things that we do need. We do need more police. And I don't care what has to be cut to get more police into the budget. If we have to cut arts, if we have to cut IT, if we have to cut promotions, if we have to cut raises, if we have to cut adding staff to this department or that department or some other department, we need more cops. And we need them sooner rather than later. And we need them to be able to be trained properly and to not have to work the kind of overtime they're working now. I cannot tell you how many times in any given month I hear on the scanner, platoon 2 officers are being held overtime until further notice because this, that, or something else has occurred. Or platoon 3 is staying over 4 or 5 or 6 hours. We have too many things going on in the city that are not being handled quickly enough. There was a call just last night. I don't remember exactly what it was for. It wasn't a high priority, but it was a priority. It held 4 hours before anybody could respond to it. We're relying way too much on mutual aid from other cities. We're relying way too much on people that are being stressed to the max and not given a chance to refresh before they go back on duty again, which can lead to the kind of incidences we've seen recently with the officers that were dealing with the teenager girl. If they hadn't been on overtime, maybe they wouldn't have reacted the way they did. Who knows? At any rate, it boils down to this. Your citizens want more police. They don't want sand on the beach at the riverfront. They don't want art. They want roads fixed. They want cops on those roads. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we have Anthony Garland and then Mike Harns.
Good evening, Madam Chairperson Wood and council members. My name is Anthony Garland. I'm the International Vice President of the Amalgamated Transit Union. We represent the CADA and TransDev mobility workers here in Lansing, Michigan. We are here this evening to shed light on the unfair working conditions of TransDev mobility workers here in Lansing. Your constituents, yes, the taxpaying citizens of Lansing, are being treated as second-class citizens. Currently, workers who earn $14 an hour could pay $240 per month for health care, $250 per office visit, and outrageous $6,000 deductible for health care, which they cannot afford nor use. Workers are unjustly forced to divorce their spouse to meet qualifications to state and local government programs such as Medicaid and housing assistance. Why are the taxpayers of Lansing continuing to subsidize TransDev's greed? The workers cannot afford to set aside earned wages for the company's 401k plan because of unfair low wages, though the company brags on wages and benefits offered to workers in their company business portfolio. The workers at TransDev provide exceptional service to this community that is also a necessity to the most fragile customers in the public transit sector. That's right, your aunt, your cousin, mother, father, uncle, neighbor, and who knows, maybe your child depends on this valuable service. These dedicated workers make them mobile and independent, although their own health is suspect. How do we allow TransDev to take Lansing, Michigan tax dollars back to France and to support elaborate pension and health care plans, but the company does nothing to support Lansing community? How do we allow TransDev to force our neighbors into poverty? How do we allow CADA to provide the same mobility service in-house with less interruptions, less cancellations, and just an all-around better service? How do we allow TransDev to take tax dollars to France while forcing workers in Lansing, Michigan to apply for welfare after a 10 to 12-hour workday? The workers at TransDev need a living wage suitable to sustain their household. They need health care they can use and afford, as well as respectful working conditions equal to the dedication they give the job and the community they so proudly serve. In closing, when you get a chance, ask your loved ones, friends, and or neighbors, how is their mobility service here in Lansing? We can't go to France and treat their citizens this way. The workers deserve better, and only this council can correct the current deplorable inequities bestowed upon the workers at TransDev. We ask you how, we ask you why. We thank you for your time this evening to present and speak to the council. Thank you from the members of Amalgamated Transit Union Local 1778. And council members, I have copies of the testimony if you guys want it.
All right, thank you, Anthony.
Thank you.
Brian will be getting this.
Thank you. Next, we have Mike Harns, and then
Stay out of harm's way.
Okay.
And then Jenny Hartwich-Schlack.
Thank you. My name's Mike Harms. I'm an organizer and an international representative with the Amalgamated Transit Union. I first want to thank you all for standing up for the human race by your resolution with the immigrants. I think that's wonderful. So I appreciate that. So I just want to give you a few thoughts of mine. I've been in your city for approximately about a year now, on and off. Came up about last July. We had some folks at CATA's subcontractor, Transdev. They called saying they were getting beat up by work, at work. So we came in and we unionized them. We unionized them October 26th of 2018. We're sitting here today, August 12th, I believe, 2019, and Transdev has really not moved anywhere on our contract. We've gotten some non-economic stuff out of the way, but nothing as far as our economics go. Anthony had given you a little bit of an overview about what these folks go through. We were supposed to negotiate tomorrow and Wednesday, and the company canceled. The negotiator had a death in her family. This is a $6.6 billion a year corporation throughout 11 countries in the world, and you're telling me that they only have one negotiator? It's insane. I have some packets that if any of you are interested in. We had a member fired for a woman, a young girl ran a red light. Because of his quick actions and decisive moves, he avoided a catastrophic injury. She's running a red light. He's got the green light. You can see it on the film, and they fire him. Jenny is going to be speaking next. She has major problems with her health care. She's not getting care for herself because she's trying to take care of her cancer-ridden husband. And in this company, the health care is pitiful at the minimum. In these packets, it tells you what Transdev is. And the owner of Transdev, in English, it's the Consignments and Deposits. They own 66% of Transdev. It's a government entity in France. They use the profits that they take out of Lansing to provide lifetime health care and pensions, real pensions, for the workers in France. And I personally, and our local and our union, has no problem with workers making a living anywhere in the world. But it's not right that folks take money out of Lansing. We're fighting and begging with them to put a mandatory contribution into a 401k plan because these folks can't afford to put money into a 401k plan. And they're taking taxpayers' money out of Lansing, sending it to France, and those people are being treated with real pensions and real health care and real housing. And something needs to be done about it. I thank you for your time.
Thank you.
If anybody would like any of these, this packet, I can give them out.
Brian can grab that from you. Thank you.
Okay, Jenny Howard Schlack. And then Mary Reynolds.
Miss Mary. Hi.
Hi, Jenny.
I'm gonna try. I'm not good at this kind of stuff. Hi, I have been working in our community for 12 and a half years, delivering our handicap and elderly to their doctor's appointments, to dialysis. And through this time, working with both companies, with Dean Transportation, now with Transdev, I've come to a situation where my health care has put me into a negative. I'm paying, by the end of this year, I'll have paid $3,888 in my premiums. My deductible is $3,000. Out of pocket is almost $7,000.
It's $3,000
For 80% coverage was the $3,000. My husband is going under a bunch of medical things, looking to see if he has cancer. I have some issues. I am foregoing going to the doctor for myself so I can pay for my husband to get checked out. The health care insurances get so much discount that his $7,000 of bills, which would have got me 100% coverage, is knocked down to $1,500, so they're not even paying 80% of my coverage. This company is taking away from my family to be healthy, so I can't take care of my community, who I take care of every day. I watch these people go to work to Peckham that work 4 hours a day, and I work overtime to pay my insurance and my taxes so I can bring home a small entity to try to take care of my family. And I can't do that because I can't afford my medical. They put us into a lot of stress because they have put cameras into our vehicles supposedly to help us be safe if there's an accident or something, but now they're watching us, telling us if I slam on my brakes because I don't want to run the red light, they're going to punish me for it. If a car comes in front of me and I slam on my brakes and because I don't want to hit them, I get punished for it. If we go a little over the speed limit, they fire us. Every day we come into work and they take away what they say was a rule and they give us a new rule. This company has come to us. We asked them to come help us fight so that we have a better work environment. I've never been so stressed out in the 12 and a half years that I've worked. And I don't want to. Mary is one of my clients. I pick her up. I take care of her. She likes my smile. She likes my heart. But I'm stressed out. So if you guys can help us get this company to give us a decent contract so we can take care of our community, it would be greatly appreciated.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Can you wait?
Thank you, and last but not least, the soon-to-have a birthday, Mary Reynolds.
In person. You guys, you gotta let me get up sooner than this. Be quiet and thank you. I know, and I love you too. I have to tell you, this CATA group they start my day. They're good, they care, they put people in that bus that are in their cars, I'm talking about vans, and they've probably been up since 4:30, 5 o'clock, because they start working at the crack of dawn, and dawn comes early. But they help you. Some days I can hardly get in the van, and they'll help me get in, take care of my stuff. And I think every morning, and you guys just stop and think about it, y'all going to be 85 someday. Every morning I think God I live in a city that's got CATA. I don't have to depend on my kids. If I want to go to the movies, if I want to go shopping, up till 10 o'clock, I can do almost anything. And that's my independence. Now, I'm going to be 85 this week if God doesn't strike me down, and I don't say that, I'd say that seriously. But the freedom it gives me, I don't have to ask my kids permission to go anywhere. I'm 84 years old, please. Well, maybe I don't think you should go there, Mother. And I said, well, then now you'll know how I felt when you were 18 walking out the door after I told you to stay home. Turn around and smack yourself. And these guys are too important to us to let a rinky-dink company in France abuse them. And this is abuse, what they're going through. When you take a good worker and make their life so contentious that it affects their health, that's wrong. That's when unions came about, and that's what this union's trying to do, but the company's tagging them. Now, I don't know if you people here in government in Lansing, Mr. Mayor, I don't know what the connection is between the Lansing city government and CATA. Didn't look into that part of it. I just look into the ride, the driver. But if you can do anything, I really hope you guys will do something. Put the fear of God in France. We could do it. Okay? Will you at least look into it? Somebody shake your head.
Yes.
Kathy? Phyllis? James, you don't need to. Mr. Mayor? Chris, you don't need to. You? Don't sit there, Brian. Shake your head. Okay. I'm really serious about this. I know I'm laughing and joking, but I really am serious about this. This is a bunch of crap. They think they can come into Michigan, into the United States, and play hanky bears. No. Their money comes from Washington, D.C., not from us. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. And before we close, Councilmember Washington had a comment, but I do want to clarify something with you, Mary. We, as part of CATA, the mayor recommends 4 members of Lansing residents to the CATA board. So we do have representation on the CATA board, so we will be able to reach out and talk to them. Councilmember Washington.
I just have a couple questions. I was concerned when this company was coming in to take over, and now I know my concerns were legit. How long is this contract? Does anybody know how long the contract is with this company?
I believe it's 3 years with a 2-year option.
Okay, okay.
And they're in about a year and 5 months, 6 months in a 3-year contract.
Okay. Well, first, thanks for unionizing. I mean, that's the first step. Thanks for making that sacrifice. We're on board with you, at least I am. And I just want to say thank you. You take care of our most vulnerable residents in the city of Lansing. And I know I worked in nursing homes for 25 years. It's stressful, but you love them with all your heart. And nursing home people never got paid enough to put into a 401k or to be able to afford the premiums for health care. It's like the people, I almost feel like we don't respect our most vulnerable, disabled, elderly citizens, and we don't respect the people that work with them. And that doesn't say much for us. So, you know, you got my support, and I hope the mayor's very careful as he appoints people to the CATA board.
Thank you. And normally we don't do that. Who asked that, Mary? Okay. Can you wait?
No, I want to ask one question right now.
Hurry up, Mary. Right from there.
Okay, Mr. Mayor, you have somebody that can go over the contract and see if they've done something so we can boot them out?
Go ahead, Mr. Mayor.
We don't have we have city attorneys, but CATA has their own city attorneys. We have 4 appointees to the board. There is, I don't know the total number, 12 or so appointees to that board. So we can chat with our appointees. I know that there was a contract, there was a bid process, there was a contract that was accepted. I have not been involved in any of that because we've got appointees that are part of that process. We can check in with our appointees and see. I have heard a variety of things about the contract and the bids and who met the bid specs and things like that. I hear all kinds of things. I hear from everybody. But no, we do not have attorneys that weigh in on the contract for CATA or for the libraries or the county. They all have their own attorneys that review all of those.
The boards have their own attorneys?
Yes, correct.
But what we are asking, Mr. Mayor, is if you would reach out to our members on the board, and if you could get us any information back, we would appreciate it. Thank you. With that, we are adjourned. Thank you.
You guys, I have to tell you all goodbye tonight because I got to go out of my car.
Hi, Mary.
Hi, girl.
How are you? Good, good. So it's your birthday today, or when is your birthday?
Wednesday.
Wednesday.
Hi.
Hey,
Hi,
Mary.
guys. How you been? God, I get to see all my people. Chris. Chris.